Why life sends you a narcissist right before the person who is truly meant for you shows up? It feels almost unfair, like you were punished for having a soft heart. But what if Carl Jung was right, and the narcissist wasn't a mistake, but a mirror, a trigger, a final test before destiny brings your real soulmate into your life? Today, I'm going to show you the hidden psychological and spiritual reasons why empaths attract narcissists at the exact moment they're closest to their breakthrough. You'll understand why the pain had a purpose, why the chaos was actually preparing you, and why your soulmate couldn't arrive until you learned this one powerful lesson. So stay with me till the end, because once you hear this, you'll never look at your past the same way again. And if anything in this video hits your heart, tell me in the comments. I'm ready for real love now. It helps me know you're here, healing and growing. And if you enjoy this kind of deep inner work, make sure to subscribe, because your transformation starts right now. Before we meet our true soulmate, many empaths find themselves inexplicably drawn into relationships with narcissists, and while this often feels painful, chaotic, or even unfair, Carl Jung's insights into the human psyche help us understand that these encounters are far from random. Jung believed that the people we attract into our lives are often mirrors, reflecting the parts of ourselves that remain hidden, unhealed, or unresolved. For empaths, who naturally radiate compassion, care, and emotional sensitivity, narcissists act as living reflections of suppressed wounds, unspoken fears, and unresolved trauma. The narcissist's presence is like a magnifying glass held up to the empath's deepest vulnerabilities, exposing patterns of codependency, self-sacrifice, and the unspoken belief that love must be earned by giving endlessly. These relationships are not meant to destroy or trap the empath, but to awaken a deeper level of self-awareness and inner strength, forcing them to confront what they have ignored or tolerated within themselves. Every manipulation, every emotional push and pull, every betrayal, and every moment of false intimacy serves a hidden purpose: to illuminate the blind spots, to clarify boundaries, and to prepare the empath's heart and energy for a higher, more aligned form of love. The universe, in this sense, works almost like a master teacher, sending the narcissist not as a partner, but as a lesson in disguise, ensuring that by the time the true soulmate arrives, the empath has learned to recognize genuine love, to trust their intuition, and to honor their own emotional value. This is why timing matters so much. The narcissist appears when the empath is on the verge of transformation, when they are ready to shed outdated patterns and embrace a more conscious, empowered version of themselves. It is a process of energetic refinement, a spiritual test that, while uncomfortable, raises the empath's frequency, preparing them to attract someone whose love is authentic, balanced, and nurturing, rather than draining or conditional. In the end, these challenging relationships are not failures. They are essential steps on the journey of self-discovery, teaching empaths that real love does not require compromise of the soul, and that the heartbreaks and hardships encountered along the way are simply the prelude to a connection that is profoundly aligned with who they are at their deepest, truest core. Understanding this allows empaths to look back at past pain with clarity, knowing that every narcissist they attracted was, in fact, a mirror guiding them toward their highest love and most complete self. Empaths naturally carry a kind of inner light, an energy that radiates compassion, understanding, and deep emotional awareness. And this light, while beautiful, is also sensitive, attracting both genuine love and energy that seeks to exploit it. Before a soulmate can enter an empath's life, this light often goes through a kind of spiritual purification, a phase where the empath is challenged to clarify their boundaries, honor their self-worth, and strengthen resilience against emotional manipulation. Narcissists frequently appear during this critical period, not by accident, but as a test of the empath's readiness. Unlike soulmates, who connect on mutual understanding and shared growth, narcissists are drawn to the empath's light as a source of validation, admiration, and energy they can exploit for their own benefit. These encounters act almost like a final exam in the school of emotional and spiritual growth, pushing the empath into situations that test patience, self-respect, and discernment. Every interaction with the narcissist highlights where the empath may still overgive, neglect personal needs, or compromise their boundaries in the name of love or compassion. Through repeated challenges, emotional confusion, and sometimes even heartbreak, the empath learns vital lessons about their own strength, self-respect, and capacity for resilience. This process, while often uncomfortable, ensures that by the time a true soulmate appears, the empath's energy is no longer scattered, their emotional boundaries are clear, and their capacity to recognize genuine, balanced love is fully awakened. In essence, the narcissist serves as both a mirror and a filter, reflecting the areas where the empath has yet to fully embrace self-love, and simultaneously filtering out energies or potential partners who are not aligned with the empath's highest vibration. The tests posed by narcissists refine the empath's inner light, making it stronger, brighter, and more capable of attracting a relationship that is authentic, reciprocal, and nourishing. When the empath emerges from this purification phase, they do so with a clarity and self-empowerment that allows them to fully recognize and embrace their soulmate when that person finally appears, understanding that the challenges faced with the narcissist were not obstacles, but necessary lessons in preparation for the love they truly deserve. Many empaths carry subtle, subconscious patterns that trace back to childhood, often rooted in experiences where love felt conditional or attention had to be earned. These patterns manifest as overgiving, people-pleasing, or prioritizing others' needs above their own, sometimes at the expense of their emotional or physical well-being. While these tendencies may have once helped them navigate family dynamics or early relationships, they become limiting when it comes to adult romantic connections. Narcissists, whether consciously or unconsciously, are drawn to these patterns because they instinctively recognize someone whose boundaries are soft and whose empathy can be exploited. When an empath enters a relationship with a narcissist, these wounded attachment patterns are thrown into sharp relief. The narcissist's manipulation, disregard, or emotional control acts as a mirror, revealing to the empath where they have been overextending themselves, compromising their self-worth, or ignoring their own needs. It is an intense, sometimes painful process, but it is necessary. Without this confrontation, the empath would remain stuck in cycles of overgiving and emotional imbalance, unable to fully recognize or receive a partner who respects and cherishes them. By enduring and reflecting on the lessons presented by the narcissist, the empath gradually learns to establish firm boundaries, value their own feelings, and recognize the difference between love that drains and love that nourishes. This inner work is what clears the emotional space for a soulmate, a connection that is rooted in mutual respect, reciprocity, and authenticity rather than codependency or pattern repetition. In this way, the narcissist's presence is not punishment, but a catalyst for growth, pushing the empath to confront and release unconscious attachment wounds. Once these patterns are broken, the empath's energy becomes clearer, more balanced, and fully aligned with a partner who mirrors their highest potential. The painful experiences, the heartbreaks, and the challenges with the narcissist are therefore essential chapters in the journey, ensuring that when the soulmate finally arrives, the connection is not only deeper and healthier, but also sustainable and transformative, based on true equality, mutual care, and a profound emotional resonance that neither of them could have fully experienced before this necessary inner work. Empaths have a unique ability to radiate emotional warmth, compassion, and understanding, and this energy often flows naturally, almost effortlessly, into the people and situations around them. Their presence is calming, their empathy is validating, and their capacity to understand emotional nuance creates a sense of safety for others. While this is one of their greatest gifts, it can also make them vulnerable to people who are energetically predatory, particularly narcissists. Narcissists are instinctively drawn to this empathic energy because it acts as a source of fuel for their own emotional and psychological needs. They crave validation, admiration, and attention, and an empath provides these things in abundance without necessarily realizing the cost. Unlike soulmates, who seek connection based on mutual respect, growth, and maturity, Narcissists are attracted to the energy itself rather than the person it emanates from. They do not see the empath as a partner or equal. They see them as a resource, someone whose light can be consumed, redirected, and exploited to maintain the narcissist's sense of power and superiority. This dynamic can be confusing for empaths, because their natural inclination is to nurture and to give, and in the beginning, narcissistic attention can even feel flattering or magnetic. Over time, however, the imbalance becomes evident. The empath's energy is drained, boundaries are tested, and emotional exhaustion sets in. But this process, while challenging, is also deeply instructive. It forces the empath to recognize how precious their energy truly is, to understand that not every connection is meant to last, and to distinguish between those who seek to share life authentically and those who are merely consuming it. This awareness becomes a key turning point. By experiencing relationships in which their energy is taken rather than respected, empaths learn to protect their light, cultivate discernment, and set boundaries that prevent future exploitation. They realize that their energy is not an unlimited resource to be drained, but a sacred part of themselves that must be preserved for relationships that are reciprocal, healing, and aligned with their higher vibration. When a soulmate enters their life, it is no longer the raw empathic energy that attracts the connection, but the empath's evolved presence, the clarity, wisdom, and self-respect they have cultivated through previous challenges. In this way, the narcissist, though often painful and disorienting, serves a necessary purpose, teaching the empath about the value of their own energy, the importance of emotional integrity, and the difference between being admired as a source of fuel and being loved for who they truly are. Ultimately, these experiences prepare the empath to receive a soulmate who respects their light, matches their maturity, and honors the depth of their emotional and spiritual essence. Many empaths don't realize that before a soulmate can enter their life, the universe often has to remove what no longer serves them, and this process can feel messy, confusing, or even painful. Narcissistic relationships are a prime example of this cosmic clearing. While these connections are emotionally intense and often draining, they play a crucial role in triggering a spiritual awakening. The empath is forced to confront old patterns, unhealed wounds, and unhealthy attachment behaviors that have been lingering beneath the surface, sometimes for years. Every manipulation, every moment of emotional turbulence, and every test of patience is designed to illuminate areas of the self that need attention and transformation. The universe, in this sense, acts almost like a gardener, pruning what is rotten or unnecessary so that the healthiest, most vibrant energy can flourish. Once the empath begins to recognize the lessons embedded in the narcissistic encounter, learning to protect their boundaries, honor their self-worth, and differentiate between genuine love and energy exploitation, the old energy that no longer aligns with their highest path begins to dissipate. This clearing can manifest in many ways: old relationships ending, toxic friendships dissolving, limiting beliefs falling away, and even inner fears or insecurities being released. Each of these removals creates the space needed for a soulmate to enter without interference, someone whose love is aligned, nurturing, and reciprocal. The process may feel slow or frustrating at times, because the universe's timing is precise and not always predictable. Yet every challenge and every emotional lesson is a signal that the empath is moving closer to a place of readiness. By the time the soulmate appears, the empath has not only healed past wounds but has also raised their vibrational frequency, making them able to recognize and attract a love that is both authentic and sustainable. The past hardships, particularly the time spent with narcissists, are no longer viewed as failures or punishments but as necessary preparation, a divine clearing that ensures that the connection with the soulmate will be rooted in balance, respect, and spiritual alignment. In this way, the universe works silently but deliberately, ensuring that only the energy that matches the empath's highest growth remains, and everything that is misaligned is gracefully removed. Understanding this gives empaths a profound sense of trust in their journey, helping them realize that even painful experiences serve a larger purpose, guiding them toward the love they were always meant to receive, a love that arrives when the timing is perfect, the lessons are learned, and the heart is fully ready to embrace it without fear, hesitation, or residue from the past. One of the most critical lessons for an empath before encountering a soulmate is learning to establish and maintain strong emotional boundaries. Empaths naturally absorb the emotions of those around them, often prioritizing the needs and feelings of others above their own, which can lead to emotional exhaustion and confusion. A soulmate connection, however, requires emotional clarity, balance, and mutual respect, and these qualities cannot exist if an empath is still overextending themselves or compromising their sense of self. Narcissistic relationships, though painful and challenging, often serve as the teacher that forces this realization. Within these relationships, empaths are confronted with the consequences of having weak or porous boundaries. Manipulation, emotional drain, and the repetitive cycle of overgiving with little return. The experiences can be jarring, even heartbreaking, but they are essential for growth. Through them, empaths gradually learn to say no without guilt, to prioritize their own needs alongside others, and to stop taking responsibility for the emotional healing of people who are unwilling or unable to do their own work. This is not about becoming cold or detached. It is about protecting one's energy so that it can be invested into relationships that are reciprocal, authentic, and nourishing. By practicing these boundary skills in the context of a narcissistic dynamic, empaths gain a profound understanding of self-worth and emotional integrity, which prepares them for a soulmate connection that is rooted in equality and genuine care. When the empath finally meets their true partner, they do so with a clear sense of what is acceptable and what is not, able to recognize love that uplifts rather than depletes. The heartbreaks, manipulations, and lessons learned from past relationships act as a filter, ensuring that only those who respect, honor, and match the empath's emotional depth are allowed into their life. In this sense, the pain inflicted by narcissists is transformative rather than destructive. It equips the empath with the tools needed to navigate intimacy without losing themselves, creating space for a soulmate who will not exploit their compassion but will celebrate and reciprocate it fully. The boundaries established during these lessons become the foundation of healthy partnership, a necessary prerequisite for a love that is sustainable, balanced, and deeply fulfilling. Ultimately, the universe, through these challenging experiences, teaches empaths that a soulmate connection cannot thrive without clarity, strength, and self-respect, and that these qualities are cultivated only through the trials of learning to protect their own emotional energy. Carl Jung, one of the most profound thinkers in psychology, introduced the concept of synchronicity, the idea that every encounter, every event, and every person we meet carries a deeper meaning and is connected to the larger flow of our personal and spiritual growth. From this perspective, nothing in life is purely accidental. The people we meet, especially those who challenge us the most, appear not by coincidence but at precisely the moment we are ready to evolve into a higher version of ourselves. For empaths, narcissists often enter their lives exactly at these pivotal moments, acting as catalysts for growth, transformation, and awakening. While these relationships are often painful, confusing, and draining, they serve a unique and essential purpose. They accelerate self-awareness, confront unresolved wounds, and push the empath to examine patterns they may have ignored for years. The narcissist exposes blind spots, vulnerabilities, and emotional tendencies that the empath has unconsciously carried, often stemming from childhood or early experiences of attachment. These reflections are not comfortable. They force the empath to face truths about themselves that are inconvenient, painful, or even humiliating. Yet, without this confrontation, the empath would remain trapped in cycles of overgiving, people-pleasing, or attracting partners who replicate past wounds. In this way, the narcissist acts as a mirror, revealing what has been hidden and what must be addressed before the empath can experience a connection with someone aligned to their highest self. Jung's idea of synchronicity also suggests that timing is everything. The narcissist doesn't appear randomly, and the empath is not a passive victim of circumstance. Instead, These encounters are orchestrated by the universe to coincide with a moment when the empath is on the verge of a significant leap in consciousness. It is almost as if the universe sends a test, an intense mirror, or even a challenge designed to catalyze the next phase of emotional and spiritual evolution. The narcissist may provoke anger, insecurity, doubt, or heartbreak, but each of these responses contains valuable information. They reveal where the empath's boundaries are too soft, where self-worth has been compromised, and where emotional energy has been unconsciously given away. By navigating this challenging relationship, the empath is forced to learn critical lessons about self-respect, discernment, and emotional sovereignty. In other words, the narcissist's presence is a wake-up call, a spark igniting the process of personal growth that must occur before a healthy, reciprocal soulmate connection can take place. These encounters also illustrate the paradoxical beauty of synchronicity. While the narcissist may seem destructive, their role is actually constructive in the grand scheme of the empath's journey. Pain, confusion, and disappointment are not punishments. They are catalysts that accelerate self-discovery and self-mastery. The empath learns to identify toxic patterns, recognize unhealthy relational dynamics, and most importantly, reclaim their personal power. They realize that their energy, empathy, and compassion are precious and should not be expended on someone incapable of reciprocating or honoring them. The lessons learned during these interactions create a foundation of emotional resilience, inner clarity, and spiritual alignment, which ultimately primes the empath to recognize and attract their true soulmate, someone who respects their boundaries, nurtures their growth, and mirrors their emotional maturity. Jung's perspective also emphasizes that these synchronicities are deeply personal and symbolic. The narcissist is not just a person. They are a reflection of a stage in the empath's evolution. They embody the unresolved fears, insecurities, or self-limiting beliefs that must be addressed before higher vibrational love can manifest. This makes each encounter profoundly meaningful, as the empath is being prepared for a connection that is not only emotionally fulfilling but spiritually aligned. When the empath finally steps into this higher state of self-awareness, the patterns that once attracted narcissists are naturally dissolved, and relationships that resonate with their true essence begin to appear effortlessly. In essence, the narcissist functions as a divine catalyst. Their presence, while often challenging, is timed perfectly with the empath's readiness for growth. They force the empath to evolve, to refine their boundaries, to reclaim their energy, and to see themselves in ways that were previously obscured. Jung's synchronicity teaches that nothing is wasted. Every encounter, no matter how painful, contributes to the unfolding of the empath's highest path. By understanding this, empaths can reframe their past experiences with narcissists not as mistakes or misfortunes, but as essential stepping stones toward personal transformation and the eventual arrival of a soulmate who truly honors, complements, and matches their evolved energy. This realization brings clarity, peace, and a sense of trust in the timing of life, proving that every encounter, even the most challenging, serves a meaningful, divinely orchestrated purpose. Empaths are inherently sensitive beings, attuned to the emotions, energies, and subtle vibrations of the world around them. This sensitivity allows them to connect deeply with others, to feel profoundly, and to navigate relationships with empathy and care. However, it also makes them vulnerable to those whose energy is misaligned, particularly narcissists, who are often drawn to empaths for the very light and compassion they radiate. A narcissistic relationship can initially feel intoxicating or flattering, yet it inevitably becomes draining and destabilizing, because the narcissist unconsciously or consciously feeds off the empath's energy without offering reciprocity or emotional support. While this dynamic can be painful and disorienting, it also serves as a crucial catalyst for the empath's evolution, marking the beginning of a transformative process that raises their vibrational frequency and prepares them for more authentic, soul-aligned connections. Healing from the encounter with a narcissist is not merely about recovering from heartbreak. It is about consciously reclaiming energy, rebuilding self-worth, and realigning with one's higher self. The empath begins to recognize that their energy is sacred and finite, and that it cannot be poured into relationships that deplete, manipulate, or exploit them. Each lesson learned, the setting of boundaries, the acknowledgement of self-value, and the discernment of genuine emotional resonance, acts as a frequency upgrade, elevating the empath to a higher state of vibrational alignment. This increase in frequency is significant because soulmates do not connect on the same plane as narcissists. While narcissists thrive in low-vibration dynamics, feeding on insecurity, emotional dependence, and unconscious patterns, soulmates resonate at a higher, harmonious frequency that mirrors the empath's evolved energy. When an empath heals and raises their vibrational state, they naturally begin to attract connections that align with this higher energy, creating a magnetic pull toward individuals who respect boundaries, honor emotional depth, and match the empath's authenticity. The process is both internal and external. Internally, the empath cultivates emotional resilience, self-love, and clarity. Externally, they begin to draw people, situations, and opportunities that reflect this upgraded vibration. In essence, the soul-aligned partner or soulmate is attracted not just to the empath's light, but to the conscious, elevated energy that the empath has developed through overcoming the narcissistic encounter. During this transformative process, the empath also learns to discern energy more clearly. They become attuned to subtle cues of authenticity, emotional availability, and integrity, recognizing when someone's energy resonates or clashes with their own. This heightened awareness is a direct result of the contrast experienced with narcissists, whose low-vibration behaviors and emotional manipulation illuminate the difference between draining dynamics and nourishing ones. Empaths begin to understand that love is not about sacrifice, rescue, or meeting the unhealed needs of others, but about mutual respect, growth, and the alignment of energies. The frequency upgrade, therefore, is not merely emotional or psychological, it is vibrational and spiritual, transforming how the empath interacts with the world and the type of relationships they are able to sustain. Furthermore, this elevation has a compounding effect. As empaths raise their frequency, they experience increased clarity, self-confidence, and emotional sovereignty, which further protects them from repeating past patterns. They no longer unconsciously attract narcissists because their energy no longer resonates with low-vibration dynamics. Instead, their presence radiates alignment, stability, and authenticity, drawing in individuals who match that level of consciousness. The healing process, while often challenging, becomes a period of empowerment, self-discovery, and spiritual maturation, transforming the empath into someone capable of sustaining a soul-aligned, deeply connected relationship. It also reinforces the understanding that the pain endured with the narcissist was not wasted. It was the essential catalyst for this vibrational elevation, without which the empath may never have been ready for a partnership that honors their full self. Ultimately, the empath's journey through a narcissistic encounter is a sacred process of energetic refinement. By facing manipulation, emotional depletion, and the lessons embedded in the relationship, the empath upgrades their vibrational frequency, preparing both themselves and their energetic field for the soulmate who can resonate on that same elevated plane. This is why, after healing, soulmates often appear when least expected, yet at precisely the right moment, connecting with the empath in a way that is reciprocal, nurturing, and harmonious. The encounter with the narcissist, once viewed as a painful detour, is now understood as a transformative stepping stone, essential for raising the empath's energy to the level necessary to attract love that is aligned with their highest self. Through this journey, the empath emerges not only healed but elevated, empowered, and energetically prepared for a love that truly reflects their evolved heart, mind, and spirit. One of the most profound lessons an empath can learn through a narcissistic relationship is the awareness of their own blind spots, those unconscious patterns and behaviors that have been operating beneath the surface, shaping their experiences without their full understanding. Narcissists have an uncanny ability to expose these hidden aspects, not intentionally, but simply through the way they interact with the empath. Their behavior acts as a mirror, reflecting back what the empath has been blind to for years, and in doing so, creates discomfort, pain, and sometimes even heartbreak. These blind spots often include people-pleasing tendencies, a tendency to ignore or downplay red flags, overextending oneself emotionally, and romanticizing the potential of someone rather than seeing who they truly are. Empaths, by nature, are compassionate and giving, often putting the needs of others above their own. While this is a beautiful trait, it can lead to patterns where they tolerate manipulation, dishonesty, or emotional imbalance because they hope for change or feel responsible for fixing another person's shortcomings. The narcissist, with their focus on self-interest, control, and emotional manipulation, interacts with these patterns in a way that magnifies them, forcing the empath to confront the ways they have unconsciously sabotaged their own emotional well-being. Through repeated cycles of inconsistency, manipulation, and emotional push and pull, the empath begins to notice the patterns that have gone unrecognized for so long. They start to see where they have allowed their boundaries to be crossed, where they have ignored warning signs in favor of hope or desire, and where their own fears of rejection, abandonment, or unworthiness have led them to compromise their values and self-respect. This process is often painful, as it requires the empath to acknowledge their vulnerabilities and the ways they have contributed to their own suffering, even if unintentionally. However, this acknowledgement is essential for growth, because it transforms unconscious behaviors into conscious awareness, turning blind spots into opportunities for personal evolution. By recognizing these patterns, the empath gains clarity on what is acceptable in a relationship, what must be protected, and what behaviors signal misalignment with their highest self. Another critical aspect of this process is the dismantling of the habit of romanticizing potential. Empaths are prone to seeing the best in people, imagining a future where the narcissist changes or fulfills the role of a loving partner. The narcissist, however, exposes the reality of who they truly are, challenging the empath to face the difference between fantasy and truth. This confrontation helps the empath learn to value authenticity over hope, reality over projection, and alignment over wishful thinking. As the empath begins to process these lessons, they cultivate discernment, understanding that love is not about fixing, rescuing, or enduring emotional chaos, but about mutual respect, care, and harmony. Once these blind spots are illuminated and processed, the empath is energetically and emotionally ready for a soulmate connection. The clarity gained through this painful but transformative process ensures that the empath no longer attracts relationships that mirror old patterns or repeat cycles of dysfunction. Instead, they are now attuned to individuals who resonate with their emotional depth, respect their boundaries, and match their frequency of authenticity, care, and emotional intelligence. The soulmate connection, when it appears, feels markedly different from past experiences. It brings peace, stability, and alignment rather than turbulence, confusion, or manipulation. The empath can fully engage in love without fear, compromise, or the unconscious urge to fix, creating a dynamic that is nurturing, reciprocal, and sustainable. Ultimately, the narcissist's role in revealing blind spots is not punitive but preparatory. The pain, frustration, and heartbreak are essential catalysts, designed to elevate the empath's awareness and readiness for a love that truly mirrors their highest self. By facing these challenges, the empath gains insight, resilience, and the ability to discern authenticity in themselves and others. This transformation is crucial, as it ensures that the soulmate who enters their life is not only compatible but also aligned with the empath's evolved energy. The lessons learned from the narcissist are integrated, leaving the empath empowered, conscious, and prepared to receive love that is balanced, respectful, and deeply fulfilling. In this way, what initially felt like suffering becomes a powerful instrument of growth, teaching the empath to recognize, honor, and protect their energy while preparing them for the harmonious, soul-aligned relationship they were always meant to experience. The conclusion of a relationship with a narcissist is often one of the most challenging and disorienting experiences an empath can face. It is a period marked by emotional turbulence, heartbreak, confusion, and sometimes even a lingering sense of self-doubt. Yet, despite the pain, this ending is not a punishment, nor is it a sign that the empath is unworthy of love. In fact, it is quite the opposite. The breakup, the emotional release, and the detachment from the narcissist mark the beginning of a profoundly transformative chapter, the start of the soulmate timeline. The heartbreak serves as a preparation phase, a necessary clearing of emotional, energetic, and mental patterns that have prevented the empath from fully stepping into the love they are truly meant to experience. While in the midst of a narcissistic relationship, empaths are often consumed by the cycles of manipulation, emotional highs and lows, and the constant need to protect, fix, or nurture someone who is unwilling or incapable of reciprocal love. This dynamic, while painful, primes the empath to recognize the difference between love that drains and love that nourishes, between a connection built on conditionality and one rooted in mutual respect, authenticity, and alignment. Once the empath begins to detach emotionally and energetically from the narcissist, the real transformation begins. Detachment is not simply about leaving the relationship, it is about reclaiming personal power, realigning with one's own energy, and consciously stepping out of the cycle of codependence or overgiving. This detachment allows the empath to heal, to process the lessons, and to integrate the insights gained from the challenging experience. As they do so, their energy field becomes lighter, clearer, and more harmonious, creating a magnetic space for authentic, soul-aligned connections. It is at this point that the universe is able to introduce the soulmate, the person whose energy is compatible, whose intentions are sincere, and whose love is reciprocal and nourishing. Unlike previous relationships with narcissists, this connection is not marked by manipulation, drama, or imbalance. Instead, it is characterized by peace, mutual growth, shared understanding, and deep spiritual resonance. The empath, having evolved through the lessons of the narcissistic encounter, is now capable of recognizing love that aligns with their highest good, rather than being drawn to relationships that replicate old wounds or patterns of dysfunction. The transition from heartbreak to the soulmate timeline is gradual and deeply transformative. The empath may initially experience moments of doubt, residual pain, or fear of repeating past patterns. However, these moments are part of the purification process. Each reflection, each boundary established, and each lesson internalized strengthens the empath's capacity to attract and sustain a relationship that is energetically and emotionally balanced. By the time the soulmate appears, the empath's energy is no longer scattered or depleted. It has been restored, realigned, and elevated. This ensures that the love they encounter is not only sustainable but also deeply fulfilling on every level: emotional, spiritual, and even energetic. The heartbreak, in retrospect, is understood as a critical precursor to this fulfillment, a period during which the empath was being prepared, refined, and elevated to a frequency compatible with true love. Importantly, this phase also teaches empaths that love is not about sacrifice, compromise, or attempting to fix another person. It is about mutual respect, alignment of energy, and shared growth. The ending with a narcissist highlights the importance of self-love, emotional sovereignty, and discernment. It helps empaths understand that they are not responsible for carrying the emotional burdens of those unwilling to engage in their own healing, and that true partnership requires balance, reciprocity, and authenticity. When these lessons are fully integrated, the empath is no longer attracted to relationships that replicate past dysfunction. Instead, they are naturally drawn to connections that honor their energy, their boundaries, and their evolved self. The soulmate timeline begins when the empath fully embraces this truth, releasing residual attachments to the narcissist and stepping into a new chapter of emotional and spiritual readiness. It is a timeline marked not by coincidence, but by alignment, divine timing, and energetic resonance. Every prior experience, particularly the painful encounters with narcissists, becomes a stepping stone leading to this moment. What initially felt like suffering and loss transforms into empowerment, clarity, and preparedness for a relationship that reflects the empath's highest vibration. The ending with a narcissist is thus not the conclusion of a love story, but the prologue to a new chapter, a chapter in which the empath is ready to experience love that is authentic, reciprocal, and profoundly transformative, with a partner whose presence complements, nurtures, and resonates with the depth of their being. Every empath's journey through life is profoundly unique, yet there are universal experiences that bind their path together, experiences that are often as painful as they are transformative. One of the most profound lessons for empaths is learning why they attract narcissists before meeting their soulmates. It is a question that can feel confusing, unfair, and even devastating at times. Why does it seem that just as they open their heart, just as they are ready to love fully, someone comes along who drains their energy, manipulates their emotions, and leaves them questioning their own worth? Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, provides insight that brings clarity and hope to this journey. Jung believed in the power of synchronicity, the idea that every person we encounter, every experience we endure, is meaningful and intricately connected to our personal and spiritual evolution. From this perspective, narcissists do not appear in the lives of empaths by accident. They are catalysts, mirrors, and teachers, showing empaths exactly where growth is needed, where old patterns must be broken, and where the light within them is ready to shine more brightly than ever before. For many empaths, the encounter with a narcissist is one of the most intense lessons they will ever face. It forces them to confront parts of themselves that have been ignored, suppressed, or undervalued. Childhood patterns of overgiving, the habit of people-pleasing, ignoring red flags, or romanticizing the potential in someone who does not reciprocate, all of these patterns are revealed under the intense spotlight of a narcissistic relationship. The narcissist's energy, which thrives on manipulation and emotional consumption, exposes where boundaries have been too soft and where self-worth has been compromised. It is a painful reflection, one that often comes with heartbreak, confusion, and deep emotional upheaval. Yet, this very pain is what creates the space for transformation. Without the challenges presented by the narcissist, the empath might continue repeating the same cycles, attracting individuals who replicate the same patterns, and missing the opportunity for the deeper, soul-aligned love they are destined to experience. Through the trials of these relationships, empaths undergo a process of awakening and healing. The experience teaches them to set boundaries, to reclaim their energy, and to recognize that love is not about fixing another person or sacrificing their own well-being. Every manipulation, every moment of emotional turbulence, becomes a lesson in self-worth and emotional sovereignty. Empaths begin to see that their compassion, sensitivity, and innate ability to care deeply are not weaknesses to be exploited but strengths to be cherished. They learn to protect their light, to honor their energy, and to recognize that true love requires reciprocity, respect, and emotional alignment. This realization is profoundly empowering because it shifts the empath from a state of reactive vulnerability to conscious self-mastery. As this journey unfolds, the universe works silently but deliberately. Jung's idea of synchronicity reminds us that timing is never accidental. The narcissist enters the empath's life precisely at the moment when the empath is on the verge of a significant transformation. They act as a catalyst, accelerating growth and awakening by exposing patterns that must be addressed. The empath is challenged, tested, and often pushed to the edge, but these experiences are not meant to break them. They are meant to elevate them. Each moment of pain and reflection raises the empath's vibrational frequency, preparing their energy field to align with the soulmate who is destined to enter their life. Soulmates are drawn to this higher frequency, not to the wounded energy that once attracted narcissists. When the empath emerges from this journey, healed and empowered, they naturally attract a connection that mirrors their evolved energy, a love that is authentic, nurturing, and spiritually aligned. One of the most important lessons in this journey is understanding that heartbreak is not punishment. It is preparation. The ending of a relationship with a narcissist marks the closing of one chapter and the opening of another. It is the universe's way of clearing the emotional, mental, and energetic space needed for a soulmate to enter. The empath, having faced the mirror of their own blind spots, having learned to honor boundaries, and having healed old wounds, is now ready to embrace love in its highest form. The soulmate connection is not marked by manipulation, chaos, or energy drain. It is characterized by mutual respect, emotional safety, and shared growth. It is a love that resonates deeply on every level: emotional, spiritual, and energetic. This is why the journey with narcissists, though painful, is so essential. It ensures that when love finally arrives, it is not fleeting, shallow, or conditional. It is profound, transformative, and aligned with the empath's highest self. In addition to preparing for love, these experiences cultivate resilience, wisdom, and clarity. Empaths learn to discern energy, to recognize authenticity, and to trust their intuition more than ever. They understand that their time, energy, and compassion are precious and that not everyone deserves access to it. This discernment protects them from repeating past mistakes and ensures that future relationships are built on a foundation of mutual respect and alignment. The lessons are cumulative. Each encounter, each heartbreak, and each reflection contributes to the empath's emotional, spiritual, and energetic evolution. By the time the soulmate appears, the empath is not only healed but fully empowered, capable of sustaining a connection that is balanced, harmonious, and deeply fulfilling. This journey is also a journey of self-love. Empaths realize that their worth is not determined by external validation or the approval of others. They learn to honor themselves, to prioritize their own well-being, and to cultivate a life that reflects their values, desires, and highest potential. The process of healing from narcissistic relationships allows them to embody their true essence, radiant, empowered, and magnetically aligned with their soulmate. It is a journey of transformation, moving from the pain of manipulation to the joy of authentic connection, from heartbreak to empowerment, and from confusion to clarity. One of the most powerful truths that every empath must understand is that timing in life and love is never random. Each encounter, each heartbreak, and each challenge is meticulously placed on their journey to prepare them for the love they are truly destined to receive. For empaths, this truth can often feel difficult to accept. After all, it is natural to feel impatient, frustrated, or even disheartened when the soulmate they long for has not yet appeared, especially after enduring the turmoil of manipulative or narcissistic relationships. The mind may question why love seems delayed, why lessons feel painful, or why certain connections fail to last. Yet, beneath the surface of these emotional struggles lies a divine orchestration that ensures everything occurs in perfect timing. The universe, or whatever higher force one believes in, is constantly aligning experiences, people, and energies to cultivate the empath's growth, clarity, and readiness. Every step, no matter how uncomfortable or challenging, is a vital part of a larger design, preparing the empath to attract not just any partner, but the soulmate whose energy resonates perfectly with their evolved self. During this preparatory phase, empaths are often unknowingly cultivating the qualities necessary for a healthy, balanced, and deeply fulfilling relationship. They are learning resilience as they navigate heartbreak, patience as they wait for alignment, and discernment as they distinguish between people who elevate their energy and those who drain it. Every encounter with a narcissist, for example, is an intense lesson in this preparation. These experiences are not punishments. Rather, they are highly effective mirrors. Narcissists expose the empath's blind spots, insecurities, and unhealed wounds, showing them where boundaries need to be strengthened and where self-love must take precedence. The challenges can be painful, often shaking the empath's sense of trust in themselves and the world. Yet, through these challenges, the empath begins to cultivate wisdom, the kind of wisdom that only experience can teach. They learn that true love is not about sacrificing their energy, compromising their values, or attempting to fix someone else. True love is about balance, mutual respect, authenticity, and emotional reciprocity. Trusting the timing is also about releasing control. Empaths, by nature, are intuitive, compassionate, and sensitive to the needs of others. While these qualities are beautiful, they can sometimes create a subconscious urge to force outcomes, rush connections, or manipulate circumstances to create the love they desire. The universe, however, operates differently. Love that is aligned with the empath's highest good cannot be manufactured, coerced, or hurried. It manifests only when the empath's energy is clear, their boundaries are strong, and their vibration matches that of the soulmate they are meant to attract. This is why patience is such a crucial aspect of the journey. Waiting is not passive, it is an active, transformative process. During this time, the empath is growing, healing, and refining themselves, ensuring that when love finally arrives, they are energetically and emotionally prepared to sustain it in its highest expression. In many ways, the waiting period is a sacred time of self-discovery and empowerment. The empath is learning to honor themselves in ways they may not have before. They begin to prioritize their emotional well-being, to recognize the value of their energy, and to cultivate a life that reflects their own desires and values. Through introspection, meditation, and conscious healing practices, empaths can connect with their inner guidance, developing clarity about what they truly want in a partner and in a relationship. This clarity is essential because it allows them to recognize when someone is genuinely aligned with their energy and intentions. When a soulmate enters their life, it will feel natural, effortless, and resonant on multiple levels, emotionally, spiritually, and energetically. Every previous heartbreak, every encounter with a narcissist, and every period of waiting becomes a necessary part of this alignment. Another vital aspect of trusting the timing is understanding that the soulmate will match the empath's evolved frequency, not their past patterns of energy or behavior. Before healing from toxic relationships or narcissistic entanglements, empaths often attract partners who mirror unresolved wounds, emotional dependence, or unhealed trauma. These relationships, while challenging, serve as catalysts for growth. They push empaths to confront their vulnerabilities, set boundaries, and reclaim their energy. Once these lessons are learned and integrated, the empath's energy is elevated, refined, and aligned with a higher vibration. At this point, the universe can introduce a partner whose energy is not only compatible but also supportive of the empath's personal and spiritual evolution. The soulmate they attract will honor their boundaries, respect their sensitivity, and reflect their highest self, creating a love that is balanced, harmonious, and deeply fulfilling. Trusting divine timing also requires faith in the unseen. Empaths often feel deeply connected to energy, intuition, and spiritual guidance. Even when life feels uncertain, when heartbreak lingers, or when patience is tested, they are called to trust that the universe is orchestrating the perfect circumstances for their growth and alignment. This faith is a powerful tool. It allows empaths to release fear, doubt, and the compulsion to control outcomes. It encourages them to surrender to the flow of life, understanding that each experience, each lesson, and each relationship serves a meaningful purpose. By embracing this perspective, the empath can navigate life with grace, resilience, and optimism, knowing that every step, every encounter, and every challenge is preparing them for the extraordinary love that awaits. Moreover, trusting the timing empowers the empath to embrace self-love and self-empowerment. During periods of waiting, the empath can focus on personal growth, hobbies, passions, and self-care, creating a life that is vibrant and fulfilling independently of external validation. This not only strengthens their sense of self but also raises their energetic frequency, making them a magnet for partners who are equally aligned and conscious. When the soulmate finally appears, it is not to complete the empath but to complement them, creating a partnership where both individuals contribute from a place of wholeness, balance, and mutual respect. This is the essence of a soul-aligned relationship, Two individuals meeting not out of need or dependency but from a shared resonance of energy, values, and intention. Importantly, trusting the timing is also a practice in patience, resilience, and hope. Life's journey is rarely linear,